Hello, everybody. Welcome to Faster Masters Rowing Radio, where having a rowing coach only makes you better. Following a program gives you a true pathway to becoming a confident rower who is respected by your peers. Become the athlete that you want to row with. I am Marlene Royal, and today I am joined by Jess DiCarlo, and we're going to be talking about Book of the Month. Rebecca is on holiday today, so without further ado, in today's show, we are going to feature Book of the Month by Jess DiCarlo, and then we're going to go on to talk about what are limiting beliefs. Okay, so what is that voice in your mind tapping on your mind that interferes with what you want to do? And some of us out there, we call it the voice of the inner lizard. So we're going to talk a little bit about limiting beliefs and how to set yourself on a good course during this holiday period if those limiting beliefs are kind of knocking on the door. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome Jess. Hi, Jess. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Hi, everyone.
And as we're just waiting for the snowstorm here in Eastern North America. You know, it hasn't materialized yet, but Rebecca is sitting in sunny summer weather because she's down in the Southern Hemisphere. But, you know, us in the Northern Hemisphere, we're kind of like getting ready for ice and snow. And I guess it all goes along with the holiday season, right? So,
Yep.
and so tell us about what's our book of the month today, Jess.
Well, I picked out an old one that I didn't even know existed. I just found it. I think Amazon recommended it. It's the Compleat Dr. Rowing by
Andy
Andy
Anderson.
Anderson. His name isn't on the cover, but there's a picture on the back. But he is Dr. Rowing of the famous Dr. Rowing column in Rowing News. And so I was thrilled to get a copy of the book because, my rowing news don't go back that far. I think I have them maybe for 5 years. But yeah, so it's really good. And the first story is I think I almost forgot about it. It's the famous story of the Japanese rowers who, well, it's a myth, but the story that they rode so hard that their hearts exploded after the race. At least that's how I learned it when I was a young rower starting out at the University of Pittsburgh. It was actually on a T-shirt that we had my first year, and so that was the first myth that he debunked, and it was debunked. And there doesn't seem to be much truth to it, but
well, he always, I think that's always been the role of Dr. Rowing. You know, he either looks for the absurd, you know, what are the absurd stories or rumors that are circulating in rowing. If so, he'll go and try to uncover what the real truth is, or he'll just like tell you some crazy story that he just knows and, you know, puts it out
yeah.
there, or explores like the name of a word or something like that. So
Yeah, I love the word stuff, like the word origins. Like I think he did way enough one year or one issue. Some people say way enough. Some people say, I don't know what else they say. That's what I learned to say. But
let her run is another one.
yeah, there's a little bit of difference there. But he actually, at least he was the coach at Groton School in Massachusetts. But we have to find out if he's still there. I'm not sure, but as far as I know, he should still be there. But yeah, there's so many famous names mentioned in the book. Larry Gluckman comes to mind.
What were some of your favorite stories that he told in the book?
Well, I mean, I like them all, but I just can't get past the. He calls it in the book, seat racing a Twinkie.
Seat racing a Twinkie.
And I heard it as a ham sandwich, which it was on, I think in rowing, or no, row 2K, the ham sandwich of truth.
Okay.
But he has it in the book as a Twinkie. And the story is that, you know, I think most people know what seat racing is. You know, you swap out two rowers to see who's faster for boat lineups. Well, in this particular story, he said the rowers were just sort of phoning it in during practice, and he decided to, I guess they were kind of seat racing also, but he, before he was swapping, he said, I'm going to swap out this Twinkie. He, he had his lunch.
Like put a Twinkie in the boat?
Yeah, put the Twinkie on the seat as opposed to another rower. And my coach told me this a few years ago, Nate. And that's when I first heard the story. And he also used ham sandwich. But I thought, you know, that doesn't make sense, with the idea being that, yeah, your technique could be so bad that you're basically slowing the boat down.
Yeah, or non-existent.
Yeah, like the boat is going to be faster, you know, you're so bad that the boat is going to be faster with one less person.
Oh dear, that's pretty awful.
Yeah, it's like crushing. But so, you know, he was trying to debunk whether any coach actually ever did this or if it was just a rumor or what. And he finally got the coach he found is Steve Wagner.
Yeah.
I guess
Steve was the varsity coach at Rutgers for many years, and Steve
Okay.
was also the director at Craftsbury for many years until
Okay.
until early 2000. Steve was the director at Craftsbury as well.
Okay, well, it says he talked to him, and Steve said yes, he admitted that he had done it. And this was in the late 70s. He was a coach at FIT. I guess that's Florida
Institute of Technology. Yep.
Yeah, and he said he was in the coach's lunch, and he said, "I'll bet this spark plug could pull harder than you are right now." And yeah, he did. He swapped out. Andy asked him, you know, was it a Twinkie? And he said, no, I used a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That was his favorite one.
Oh dear.
So yeah, I just love that story. That to me is like the classic rowing story. But there's so many other good ones. There's stuff in here about like Redgrave and the you know, port versus starboard, who's stronger, that kind of stuff. I just love all of it.
Well, I think it's what year was it published?
2001.
Okay. So it's been out there for a while, but I mean, it's definitely a classic book of rowing stories. And you know, Andy is a really humorous writer. He was a coxswain. I mean, he was a coxswain at Trinity College, and you know, went on, you know, continued a career in coxing, and then became a coach. And he was actually the U.S. women's lightweight coach back in the, you know, middle to late 80s. Andy was the lightweight coach of the women's four for quite a number of years, and they had quite a long winning streak at the World Championships. And then you know, but at the same time, he was coaching at Groton and has been a teacher at Groton. But I think if that book was published in 2001, he's due for another one.
Yeah, I was wondering that, because, you know, how many good stories, you know, must he have to put in there? So yeah, I guess these were some of the early articles in Rowing News.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, and he's in every issue of Rowing magazine, you know, so you know, I'm sure that people can follow it there, but you know, he always comes up with some, you know, it's always something really funny and really absurd. So, you know,
yeah,
and just rowing, you know, rowing history that nobody talks about. So it's really kind of fun. we have a comment here from Michael Heisey. We put a Twinkie on a seat of a rower who missed practice to show her we had a good practice without her.
I love it.
Oh gosh. And then also Mike Wagner is here. Welcome, Mike, from Long Island. And Mike
Wait,
says,
isn't that the coach's name?
no, that's Steve Wagner. But Mike Wagner knows Steve Wagner, so we're okay from there. And then also we have Rich from Casper, Wyoming. So welcome, Rich. But yeah, how would that make you feel if you were, you're the absentee Twinkie, right? So
Yeah.
I guess, anyway, it's all in good spirit of the holiday time. And I definitely encourage people, like, look up the book and maybe we'll write to Andy and ask him to do like volume 2. And
Yeah.
if people are looking forward to some really good rowing rowing tales, for example, like Rebecca has just published her book, the Rowing Tales 2022 version. So that is also available. And she collects, she's been doing it for a number of years now, and she collects all kinds of stories that people send into her about just, crazy happenings on the water. And she has a number of years of rowing tales now, and has just published like the recent version of that. So that is available on Amazon. But the sponsor of today's podcast is the State of Masters Rowing Survey. And this is a survey that here at Faster Masters Rowing, we started doing this last year. And so this is the second annual State of Masters Rowing Survey. And I'm going to put the link here in the show notes of how you access the survey. And basically what our goal is with this survey is to find out, like, how is your rowing going? What is your rowing situation as a master's rower? The survey is primarily multiple choice, but there's some questions where you can write in longhand and give us answers, because that also helps us get an idea of things like what would you like to learn more about, or where would you like, this part of rowing to go. But the majority of the survey it's multiple choice. It should probably only take someone about 10 or 12 minutes to complete the survey. So it's not super long. And, last year we had a terrific response to the survey. And, it gives us information. It helps us inform our federations. It helps inform what we do at Faster Masters Rowing. So it gives us, it's a way that people can express, like, how is your rowing going? What is your daily rowing situation like? What would you like to see for masters? And, our focus is masters. So this is our choice to give everybody a voice. So this is the link here will be in the show notes. And, if you have time and you're listening to the podcast, please go to the survey and, spend a couple minutes and tell us what your state of rowing is, because I think it's really helpful. The more we know about what people want and what they're doing, the more we can help support what our federations are doing and what we're doing, and, keep building masters rowing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I did mine already. It was very quick. Maybe 10 minutes. And
Yeah. It shouldn't take too long. There are a couple questions that we ask for longhand answers, which, give us some good information. But, the idea is to, as we said, sort of, what is the state of masters rowing right now? Last year we were coming off of a COVID year, and this year we're kind of back to racing. We're a little bit, more or less getting back to normal schedule. And, so the picture is probably going to be a little bit different this year too. So cool.
yeah. Yeah, the results definitely were very interesting last year. Just how many people get coaching, and it's just interesting.
How many times per week, and who follows a training program and who doesn't, and what do people want to learn more of, and what would they like more knowledge about. So all of these things are really, really helpful to us. And our next topic today, what are limiting beliefs? Ooh, we all have that little voice in the back of our head sometimes saying like, oh, this is really getting too hard. And do I have time to do this? And um, since we're going into holiday season, and for our listeners, this, after this podcast, we're going to take a break for the holidays. So we will be back the first week of January. Um, so let me just give a definition of limiting beliefs, and I'll see what you think about it, Jess. I think we all struggle with our own little demons,
Oh, yes.
I would say. So just here's a general definition. Uh, Limiting beliefs are beliefs we hold about our abilities or potential that can prevent us from pursuing something we want or need. For example, these beliefs are formed unconsciously, inner lizard. They are treated as truths. They assume that there is an undeniable evidence that supports such a truth. They have a negativity bias rather than assuming we can assume that we can't. And they might be excuses, justifications, worries, perfectionist thinking, fears, etc. Sometimes they can be referred to as a fixed mindset voice. I'm not smart enough. I'll probably just fail at it. They won't choose me. So, that 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 kind of, it's a lot to swallow, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I sometimes think I have a little bit of the opposite problem. Like I can be a little bit delusional about my big dreams and plans. And then the perfectionist nature is that if I can't follow my program perfectly, and you know this, Marlene, what do? I just don't do it at all instead of,
Interesting. Yes.
yeah. But yeah, for limiting beliefs, I guess I do, that's become sort of a limiting belief. Like I can't follow a plan, I can't stick to it. What's
Right.
wrong with me?
Yes. The perfectionist thinking, right? And there's nothing wrong with a perfectionist ideal if you say, okay, if I do this 80%, it's good. Like,
Yeah.
we have to look at, is perfectionism 100% or is perfectionism 80%? Because perfectionism is really difficult, right? Because that 80% is fine, but that last 20% is going to take you as much time as that 80% did.
Yeah. 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 And I mean, that's what I remember you telling me years ago, the first time after I started working with you and I fell off the wagon with my training plan. And I said, what, I just can't make myself do it sometimes. And you said, well, I think you have to learn to fall in love with the process, the process of training. And rather than being so focused on the numbers, like
Mm-hmm.
I still am working on my sub 8-minute 2K time. But I have gotten better at learning to enjoy the process because even whether we are on the erg or rowing outdoors, the practice time versus race time is just, it's very.
Of course. No, absolutely. And I mean, I think that brings up a really good point. Like there's a doctor, Amy Johnson. She's a psychologist. She's Amy Johnson. She's a PhD, and she wrote a book. She's written a number of books, but one book is called Just a Thought. And it really fits into how you deal with limiting beliefs, or how do you change habits? Like people think a lot about, oh gosh, it's just a habit. I've got to change this. And, they put themselves through all kinds of somersaults and rigmaroles and washing machines to, tracking and writing things down and, putting 1/4 from one jar into the next jar, to try to break a habit. And she comes at the limiting beliefs and habits like from a whole different point of view. And in her own life, had problems with eating disorders, and that's kind of where she was exploring this ways, like, how do I cure myself? How do I fix my habit, or how do I fix my limiting belief? But these voices that say, oh, I really can't do this, and oh my god, I don't have the time for this, and that's just too hard, and oh, I thought I could, but I couldn't. So what she talks about, which I think is really interesting, is what, like, exactly what they say here. These beliefs are formed unconsciously. So where do they come from? They come from the oldest part of your brain, the most primitive area of your brain. And she calls it the inner lizard, which I love. And these old centers in your brain are designed for survival. So all they care about is making sure that you don't do anything that freaks them out. You're supposed to do everything the way you've always done it. You're supposed to do everything that's like soup, keeps you safe, everything's fine. So your inner lizard, your subconscious, doesn't like change.
Yeah. We seek
And
comfort.
yeah, it likes routine, it likes comfort. Anything that is perceived as change is dangerous. So what her point is she has her book, It's Just a Thought, is this. She says, okay, you have this thought. This thought is coming from a subconscious center, a very old center of your brain. It's your inner lizard. This thought is a habit. And it's going to recur because every time X happens, this thought happens, right? So some people have addictive thinking or addictive thoughts that repeat. And her point is there's kind of a little window of time where, okay, you have this thought, like, I want to eat that donut, but you're trying to lose weight. But I know if I eat that donut, it's going to feel good, and I like that donut, right? So, but she said there's always this moment where there's the thought. The thought is not truth. The thought is actually doesn't mean anything unless you take action on it. If you don't take action on it, it doesn't mean anything. It's nothing. It evaporates.
It's
So,
just a thought.
yeah, it's literally just a thought.
Yeah.
A thought, things only mean anything unless you put them into action. So, like, her point is, okay, you can have a limiting belief, which is, oh, there's no way I can row a 2-minute split. But if you just don't pay attention to it and say, okay, yeah, that's my, addictive thought. That's my thought telling me this. But you know what? I'm just gonna go to practice, and I'm just going to do what I can do right now, and I'm going to accept that and not pay attention to it. And the same thing with like trying to change habits, right? Okay, I want to eat at 6 o'clock. I eat a donut, or at noon I eat a donut. If there's a moment when there's the urge, that's the thought saying, oh, it's 12 o'clock. You know that you like to eat a donut at 12 o'clock. But what if you just wait 90 seconds and you don't eat the donut? The thought's going to disappear. And so the one of the things she talks about in terms of changing habits is, okay, you have the thought, it's a habit. If you feed the thought with the action, you reinforce it. If you don't take action on it, it's going to start to evaporate. She said it's like feeding a cat, right? If you feed a cat every day, say a stray cat comes to your front door and you feed the cat, and if you put out food every day, the cat's going to come and eat. But if you stop putting out food, the cat's going to come and then go away, but then it's going to come the next day and go away. Eventually, the cat's not going to come anymore because the food's not there.
Yeah.
And I always thought, like, in terms of limiting excuses, or how you handle habitual, because limiting beliefs are habitual thoughts, and how you handle them is if you pay attention to it and you act in the way that that thought wants you to act, you're reinforcing it.
Yeah.
And if you just take a pause, take a break, and just let it pass, and then you go on about your business, little by little, that habitual thought is going to change. So perhaps, like you say, when you're somebody says, "Oh, I can't hit this split," um, if they have that thought, they could say, well, maybe I can't hit that split right now, but I'm getting closer. Or, you know what I mean? If you come up to some response that changes the habit, it's going to start to replace, whatever whatever you give attention to is reinforced.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because when she writes about changing habits, she said, don't use willpower. According in her model, willpower doesn't work, because when you're fighting with your willpower, you're actually reinforcing the habit because you're paying attention to it a lot. And
That
by
makes
paying
sense.
attention to what you're trying not to do, you reinforce what you're trying not to do. So it's
Yeah.
kind of funny, but it to me it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And I follow a lot of like mindfulness, psychology, habit formation type stuff on social media. And I figure, like it's just reinforcing sort of positive thoughts and stuff like that. And yeah, it really does make a difference. I do think that thoughts are like negative thoughts are sort of their habits to some degree. And, just like
Absolutely. Yes.
I've learned in, mindfulness training, whatever you want to call it, like we shouldn't judge our thoughts. That just makes them stronger, to your point about the willpower. So yeah, it's very interesting for sure.
It is. And, your mind is tricky. So we'll tell our audience, when we're talking about limiting beliefs, and go back to this list we were reading, we treat them as if they are truth,
Yeah.
but they're not. They're just a thought. And again, you take this thought, and the thought doesn't mean you can have many thoughts, but if you don't connect it to action, it evaporates, right? And so
Yeah.
one of the this we'll put in the show notes. um, I printed this off. It's actually from the University of California at Davis, and from a seminar, Success Coaching and Learning Strategies. And one of the things they have here as an activity is, instead of letting limiting beliefs stop us from taking action, identify them, analyze them, and ultimately strip them of power using positivity and possibility. So, and then there's a series of questions. Use the following questions to process and let go of limiting beliefs. And we'll put this link in the show notes. But for example, number one is, what limiting belief do you want to work on? When you talk yourself out of taking action, what do you tell yourself? And that's the thing. So we're all the world. I think the only thing we understand is action. Like, when in doubt, just do something, right? Just
Go through the
walk
motions.
walk out the door, get a glass of water. Everything is always connected. Like, put your shoes on. Like, oh, you don't want to do your workout you do want to do your workout in the morning, but you can't get your crap together to do it, right? So, okay, here's this is a Mel Robbins thing, right? She says, morning routine takes 5 minutes. Put your iPhone or your alarm clock in your bathroom. The alarm goes off, get out of bed, go into the bathroom, wash your face, brush your teeth, give yourself a high five, put your workout clothes on immediately.
Yeah. Don't even entertain the thought.
Don't even
of
think
not,
about it.
yeah.
Like, your workout clothes are there. You have no choice. That's what you must put on. And then you go and
You'll be
eat.
more likely to do your workout because
You'll totally
you've come
do.
so far.
You'll totally do your workout. And actually, one of the things she says in one of her podcasts is that it's proven that even if you just exercise for 2 minutes, you still get the dopamine hit in the morning.
Wow.
So even if you don't have time to do your workout, your proper workout, right? You get up, you wash yourself, you high five yourself in the mirror, you put your workout clothes on, you go downstairs, and say you just do a warm up for 2 minutes, you still get the dopamine hit, which is going to boost your energy for the day, put you in a
Yep.
more positive frame of mind. But um, uh, one kind of saying that I like is, if you put your yoga pants on, you're not going to go to the bar and have a drink. So so but there are things like you don't even have to think. You just put on your rowing trowel, and when you put your rowing trowel on, like, you're not going to go outside and shovel the snow, right? You're not going to go
Yeah.
garden. You're not going to go make a nice omelet for breakfast. You're going to go sit on the erg. So you
Yeah.
know, put all these little things. If you put your training clothes on, you're not going to Starbucks, right? So
Yeah.
all these little things. So just little things that put you into action, but just just do it a little bit. And I think your point, the opposite, the perfectionist thinking, is take that perfectionist thinking and just break it down into little steps. And that's an important part of just checking off a checkbox. Oh, I did that. I mean, no, and I think I have a problem with this too. Like, no matter how insignificant it
Yes.
is,
I was just
it
thinking that.
it counts. Like, you have to take that first step. That first step might be Google sandpaper,
Yeah.
like, or it might be call the hardware store and see when they're open, or I mean, sometimes the next action step is so insignificant that you think it doesn't even matter. But
Yeah.
just by doing that little step, and then the next day you do another little step, then you get compound interest, right? You're gonna start creating
Yeah.
momentum there.
Or that little, like, if I make it to the erg to sit on it and do my warm up, I'm probably going to do my workout. I mean, you know,
Right,
so
by
there's
that time
that
you're
too.
you're invested, right? So maybe you
Yeah.
just say, okay, I'm just gonna sit down and take a couple strokes, and and
Yeah.
and don't overwhelm yourself with, like, this 1 hour block of something ahead of you. Just
Yeah.
say, well,
Yeah.
okay, I'm just gonna go through the pictorial.
Well, and the thing that always got me was, okay, so even if I don't stick to my pace, for that particular workout, I'm still going to be miles ahead of doing nothing,
Yes. Yeah,
you
it's
know.
money in the bank, right? It's training in the bank. And even if, I think this is important for our listeners too, that okay, it's holiday season. We all get derailed, we stay up too late, we go to a holiday party, whatever, people come over, just it's that time of the year. Even if you do something, it still counts. It still keeps you on track. Maybe you just spend 10 minutes stretching. Maybe you just do a warm up. Maybe you don't have time for a regular workout, but you go for a walk for 20 minutes. Just doing something counts. I think it always
Yep.
counts.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, on that note, I think, hopefully we've inspired people a bit, but, limiting beliefs, we do have control over them, and we don't, they're all talking to us, but they're not truth unless we act on them. And so
Yep.
I think that's an important thing. And just, we can say, oh, when I hear this, I decide to go have a glass of sparkling water. When I hear this, I decide to put on my rowing shorts and whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep. let the chatter happen. It
Yeah,
doesn't have to control what you do.
exactly, because it is exactly chatter, and I think just looking at things, taking little steps and realizing that you're human. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's ever going to be perfect, but if you're accomplishing 80% of what you want to do, you're doing quite well.
Yeah, and eventually, if consistent, if you can stay consistent with 80%, you're going to accomplish so much, whether
Yes.
that's training or whatever.
Yeah, in anything, I mean, for anyone, it could be their, diet, it could be their financial goals, it could be their training, it could be, learning how to get the blade out of the water cleanly and stop feathering under
Mm,
the water, whatever it is, if you get 1 out of 5 or 2 out of 10, that's 80%, that's, you're
yeah,
getting there.
yeah,
So,
definitely. It's better than nothing.
absolutely. But the point is, awareness, and I encourage people, check out this link and go through the activity. I think it's a really good way to just sort of take a look at your thinking and how we can move things forward. And I think we'd like to thank everybody who sponsors the podcast. We couldn't do it if it wasn't for our listeners, and our show wouldn't be possible without the support of our podcast listeners. And if you would like to support the podcast, you can do so for as little as $1 per month, and just go to fastermastersrowing.com/podcast. And all the information will be there. And we would like to say Happy Christmas to everyone and have a safe New Year. And we will be back the first week of January. So thank you, Jess, and have a great holiday. And good holidays to all of our listeners too. And go win the game. Thank you.
Yep. Happy holidays, everybody.
Yes. Bye, everyone.